Welcome to Education is Fast, where we talk about things like advanced placement European history, U.S. government, economics, and occasionally professional development for teachers. Today's video is going to focus on advanced placement European history with a specific focus on realism in art and literature. So basically, we're going to be talking about the changes that occur in art and literature from around the 1850s through the end of the 1800s. So stick around.
Flashing lights, flashing lights.
Alright, so we're going to pick it up here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking you through a lesson that would have finished off chapter 22 of what we cover in class. And that might not help you if you're not in my class, because you're like, what is chapter 22? Well, in our class for advanced placement, we use the Spielvogel book. So this is, if you're using that, that's fine. I mean, it's not like you wouldn't have this in another textbook. I just have no idea where you would be at as far as that goes. So let's go ahead and get started. We always have a learning target to get through, so this is the goal that we're going to try and accomplish today. It's pretty simple. It says identify the characteristics that make up realism and the forms of literature and art. And, it's always funny because my weakest topic as far as advanced placement goes as a teacher, it's something I wish I could get better at and have to work at in the future, is literature and art. And it seems like any time that I make a video for this class, it's always around literature and art. So, I'll try and do the best I can do. I know I'm going to butcher some names. I was looking through it earlier and just, hey, whatever. You're not going to have to pronounce it on the test. You just got to get the fundamentals down. So let's talk about what realism is, and basically it's the belief that the world should be viewed realistically, and it emerges after 1850. They use it to describe some things like styles of painting, as well as some literature movements as well. So let's take a look here. It deliberately rejects the ideas of Romanticism, and you have to remember Romanticism was all about things like emotion and feelings and things you can't see, and they were really in love with nature. They had an obsession with spiritual things, and you're not really going to get that when you start talking about realism as far as the 1850s on. It's very, I guess you could say it's like very plain Jane style of art, at least. I'm not familiar with necessarily the writings because I haven't read them, but it's always easier to pick up on what goes on with the paintings. So let's take a look. We got some literature here. Obviously, it's not a surprise if I reinforce that writers want to reject Romanticism, and some of the popular modes of trying to express yourself at the time are going to be prose poetry and the novel. And here's where I start butchering some names. I think it'd be Gustave, but the last name, man, that's a struggle. I'm going to say Flaubert, best known for Madame Bovary. Can't say I've read that one. Actually, I haven't read any of these in my lifetime, but that's okay. William Thackeray, best known for A Novel Without a Hero, and Charles Dickens is probably the only one, not probably, it is the only one of the three that I've actually heard of. I can't say that I've read anything from him, though. But he's best known for descriptions of the urban poor. One of the things that you might want to take note of is that when we start looking at these at these paintings, it's not going to be of anyone who is wealthy. It's going to be focusing on everyday man. I mean, you could always try and paint, the wealthy in their everyday light, and get away from, Romanticism, but this particular movement is really focusing on the lower working classes, or at least from what I've been able to pick up in my examples here. So realism in art, let's just kind of get a little into this too. Classicism and Romanticism are dominant art forms in the early 19th century, but they end up being surpassed by realism somewhere around 1850. And realism in art is basically the same as it was in literature. It wanted to display everyday aspects of life. And basically people are shown in their natural environment. People like peasants, prostitutes, or other workers. Now before you get too excited, Mr. Norton's not going to be shown any paintings of prostitutes, so you can go ahead and put that one to bed. We're not going to be focusing on that. Another name I'm probably going to butcher is Courbet. It could be Corbett, I don't know. Doesn't matter to me because, whatever. Let's just get this out of the way. Basically does things like painted factory workers, peasants, and the wives of saloon keepers. Didn't have any interest in painting gods and angels because those are things you can't see. How can you paint an angel if you haven't actually seen it? You always have that one person who says that they see him. I guess that person could try and go ahead and paint him, but I would say that the vast majority of the population have not actually seen an angel. So Most famous work is the Stonebreakers, which we can actually see right here. It's working class. You're not going to see a noble or a bourgeoisie out in the quarry busting up stone. So this is going to be that working class theme that I just mentioned. So let's move on. We see some more. It's going to be, I'm going to say millet. Watch it be Malay. I mean, who knows? I'm going to get hammered in the comment section, I'm sure, for butchering these, but I'm okay with that. Focused on painting life in rural scenes, and we see a common, theme still running here is these are not wealthy people. It's the everyday person. So these are going to be, and it could be some peasants. I would just say it's probably some peasant farmers. Most famous work is going to be the Gleaners. And then we see some other things too that I picked up on. It's going to be American realism. And it's not really any different than what we were just talking about. We see someone who's obviously not wealthy with money. It's this young boy. It could be a young man just out in the field taking care of wheat. And then to keep going with that theme of that working class everyday person, no way, with all the things we've talked about nobles living in the countryside with the countryside house. But those were wealthy places. You would not see a wealthy person of this era living in a thatch hut in the middle of a farmland. So again, this is just going to be representative of the everyday common person. We also have here, basically, this is everyday scene. We don't see too much fancy stuff going on here. Hey, I'm just looking for some examples. I was doing some Google searches and this one came up. It's not too bad. I just threw it in there. So again, it's not anything fancy. We don't see any sort of appeal to emotion. It's just supposed to reflect everyday life. That's pretty much going to finish it for our video. It wasn't going to be very long. It would have only taken me, about 5 minutes to cover in class, and I just didn't have 5 minutes to do it. So the one thing that you should be able to do as you finish this particular video is you should be able to create a list of characteristics that are unique to realism in the forms of literature and art. Personally, I'd probably have about 3 for literature and probably 2 for art, and you should be able to go back through here if you need to and pick up those particular points. Well, thanks for sticking around. I'll be putting out some more videos, and until next time, keep it fashionable.